Hi everybody. Today I would like to talk a bit about making cordage. I see a lot of videos online about making cordage with different techniques, but when I started making cordage I found that I couldn't really find good videos or good tutorials about making cordage the efficient way, which to me is die rolling. That's the way that indigenous people make cordage for projects that need several hundreds of meters of cordage. And so that's what I would like to share with you today. We're going to be working with linden or basswood or lime bark fibers, and to make it easy I have two colors. So this one is lime bark cordage that I dyed with willow bark, and so the tannins in the willow bark give this nice chocolatey brown. And then this is basswood or linden, or let's agreed to call it lime bark fibers. So this is lime bark fibers that are just the way they are after you have retted them. Now the first thing that I'm gonna bring you in a bit closer here. The first thing that I would like to address is preparing your fibers. So I get long strips of bark that I let red, and so I have strips of fiber that are really long, several meters, 3-4 meters, and you would be excused to think that that is good to work with, and in a way it is, because the longer your fibers are, the longer your strips are, the less you're gonna have to splice in, and where you splice in, it's a weak spot. However, I find that if the strips of bark or the strands that you're working with to make your cordage are too long, then it gets very unwieldy. It tangles up and it becomes messy. So what I like to do is I like to have strips of bark that are about, let's say, 2 meters. That's really the maximum. So that's the first thing I'm gonna do, is there you go, I make strips to length about 2 meters, maybe a bit less, but certainly not more. And then there's also the width. So this is a very wide strip. We're not going to be able to use it like this. What you want to have when you make cordage is lots of thin strips, and you will see why. Lots of thin strips means that you can control the thickness of your cordage, which is very important. You want to have it an even thickness along the whole length of your cordage. So that's what I do then. So I cut them to length, and then I just make thin strips. I just put my finger in there, and then I don't know, I make nice thin strips, and they don't need to be uniform width. It's good to have several. They all need to be fairly thin, yes, but you can have several widths, and that will also help to make a uniform cordage, because it will allow you to add in a little bit a strip that is a little bit thinner sometimes, to make a nice even cordage. But you will see as we go along. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to prepare my fibers, and I will get back to you when I have what I need. The reason I'm using two colors is so you can then get an idea about like how the rope is twined, how the cordage is twined. Yeah, so it's just for practical purposes for you to have a good look at how the cordage is made. Okay, so as with any cordage, the first thing we're gonna do is take, let me just, there, that way, yeah, there you go, no need to see my face, my ugly mug. So what I do, I take a couple strands, a couple of the brown ones, a bit longer than that, short. Some of the white ones. Okay, and then to start the cordage, I'm gonna just kink like this. So one side is twisting the strands to one side, the other side to the other side, so away from me, to me, and then you get a little kink. And then what I do now is I'm just gonna, and this is about tie rolling, not about reverse wrapping. I don't like reverse wrapping, but for this it's quite handy. So I just do a couple of twists, reverse wrap, there you go, and then I can divide my strands into the brown ones and the pale ones, let's call it beige, whatever you want to call the color, the not brown ones. There. Okay. So now I have two strands that are a uniform color, as you can see. Okay. And then we're gonna start our tie rolling. Now, I have a pair of old jeans that I use for this. I bought it at a thrift shop, not too expensive, a couple of euros. Don't do this with your good clothing or with your good pants because you will ruin them. This doesn't really work well with typical bushcraft gear like your Fjallraven pants or whatever. You need, like, denim is a good surface to roll on. Also buckskin is very good. But the best thing, but I'm not gonna show you my naked ties. But the best thing is just your skin. And then what I do, if I have workshops or if I have a lot of cordage to make, I will actually shave the top of my leg, get rid of all the hair because they get tangled up in your cordage, and you end up shaving your leg with by using the cordage. But the easiest way is just to shave it off and then be done with it. Okay, let me just adjust this a little bit. Alright, that's better. Now, some fibers you need to wet them, because like willow or other fibers, you need to wet them a little bit just to make them workable. With lime, that's not the case, but you need to wet your pants. You need to wet your so you need to wet your pants a little bit. so you have enough friction. Okay, so what I do is I usually start and twist the top strand a little bit beforehand. Then I take the bottom one and I'm gonna go and I'm gonna roll both of them on my pants. See, from the top of my leg to my knee, and there's a lot of tension on there now. And what I like to do is I keep the tension, and it's a bit hard to show, but I like to roll and then put my thumb on there, and then I can roll it some more without losing the tension on both strands. Okay, so now I have two strands that are really ready to twist. I can feel it. With this hand I'm holding them, and if I let go, then they're gonna roll. See, they want to twist by themselves. Okay, so that the way I'm showing you now is one way. So you just put the tension on there, you let go, and they twist upon themselves. And then I never let go of this hand, so there's still tension on there. And now what I do is I roll backwards with this hand towards my tie, and I tighten everything up. And I will usually do 2 of those. So 1, and then again I let go, and then I tighten everything up. And then that's the sort of cordage that you get. Okay, so then I will start over, and I'm always mindful of the thickness of both my strands. So it's very important that it's consistent, that both your strands are as thick, because otherwise what will happen, if one of them is thinner than the other, it will roll around the other strand, and that's weak cordage. What you need is both strands interlocking, like rolling into each other, and that is how you get good cordage. Okay, so what I will do, you can if you notice that you're running out of fibers, you can add fibers. That's obvious, right? And we will do that. But what I will also sometimes do is I will remove fibers. Like in this case, this one, it was a strip of bark that became wider at the end. Okay, so I will take a little bit out. I will take it out of my cordage, just put it aside, and I will continue without it. And that is experience, that is feel, that is knowing that you're that one of your strands is becoming bigger than it was before, or bigger than the other one, and then experience will tell you whether you need to remove or add fibers. So again, boom, I'm rolling this one, and then I'm rolling both of them, boom, boom. See, I put pressure with my thumb a little bit, boom. Now, important, both of my strands, I stop when they are right next to each other. Okay, so that now they're right next to each other, they want to twist that way. Okay, so I let them, boom, or I even help them a little bit, and then 1, 2. Okay. Again. So 1. And you see me, this is something that I do all the time. I'm always like caressing the strands, and it's what it's doing is it's making sure that the fibers are lying next to each other, that they behave, that they're all in one nice bundle, and that they don't roll one over the other or get tangled up or something. That is something that you don't want. Okay, so regularly I wet the pants. Okay, so one, boom, the other one, boom, see, up, and then sometimes you can pick up the fibers without letting them lose tension. Boom, see, till they're right next to each other. I don't know if that's easy to see, but I will get you a close up a little bit later. So boom, and now I'm letting them twist, and I go back up. Boom. See, and you get really nice, even cordage like that, and it goes quite fast actually. Okay, so now I'm running out of fibers on the brown side, so it's time to add in fibers. So let me take one or more strands, bends a little bit. Okay, so for instance now I have a strand, and I can tell that part of it, I don't know if you can tell, is a bit harder through the process of retting. Maybe it was above the water, or there's so much variables, but it's harder than the other fibers. So that's the piece that I'm gonna leave out. Okay, and then I'm gonna continue with the rest of the strand. It can be a little bit thicker still, so I'm gonna add another one. That's fine. And then maybe this one, I can tell that one side is thinner than the other, and I will add to the thinner side. Now, this is about tie rolling, and tie rolling is I think the best way to make cordage. However, sometimes what I will do, if I add multiple strands, or I'm not I just want to make sure that a part where I'm twining is really tight, like now I added in 2 fibers, so I might just do a little reverse wrap, just a couple of turns, and that way I'm sure that everything is nice and tight. Okay, and then I can go on. All right, so I noticed that now I'm not going to do a super long length, because I'm also running out of the white fibers. I might just do a little piece now. Well, yeah. Okay, so you might have noticed that I used a bit of a different technique just now, and that is the technique that I most often use. I will actually not let this part of the cordage turn on itself, but I will immediately, it's a bit faster that way, I will just boom, do like this, get them right next to each other, boom, and then immediately go back. It's a bit faster. And also, if you're doing big projects, it's not always possible to have this side, have the tension on that side and itself. That's not always possible. So then the technique that I'm using now is better. You will notice if you are tie rolling, so I'm splicing in often, and I think that is good to make good cordage. I think it's good practice to splice in often, and that way you control the width, the diameter of your cordage. So that is important. Okay. What you will see is a lot of people they don't splice in enough, and so what will happen is they get bumps in their cordage. They all of a sudden they have to add in a lot of material, and then they get an ugly bump in their cordage, which is obviously not what you want. Okay, so I'm gonna add in a piece here. Okay, make a little bit again. What I often do, and I think it's good, is once in a while you take the cordage that you already made and you check the diameter next to the cordage that you're making, where you're at. I think that is a good idea, because you tend to, gradually your cordage will become thicker or thinner, and you don't always notice. So I think it's a good habit to check once in a while, and then of course adjust accordingly. Okay, so what'll often happen is that you will see that this part gets tangled up, and that's just par for the course. That is normal with this technique. So I already said that what a good idea is not to have too long, two lengths that are too long, strands that are really long, because then the end gets it just gets tangled up together. Another thing is you need to regularly just untangle them. That's it, and that's what you need to do. Now, luckily there are ways to make that more easy. So here I did it a bit on purpose. You can see. So here you can see it tangled up. Okay. So what I'll do is I will hold the part where it's okay, where the two strands meet, where my cordage is okay. Then I will, first of all, I will just roll back a little bit so it untangles a little bit. And then what is a good idea is to use your knee. See? Yep. I use my knee, and then easily just see. Well, and now we're at it again. Okay. So sometimes what I do as well, if I see that it's already tangling, I will hold it with my thumb, and then see, I just untangle it a little bit with the rest of my fingers. So either you can roll it till the two pieces come together automatically, just because you're rolling them down your pants, and then the distance between them diminishes and then they lie together, or you can just block it, and see, by doing this, by manipulating this end of your cordage, make sure that they're nice and parallel next to each other. Okay, so touching but not overlapping, and then boom, I go back up. There we go. Try it again. Just untangle. Boom, boom, and I'm doing it slowly now for demonstration purposes. But see, I'm picking up speed a little bit. And this is also typically, see, taking this one out. This is also typically something that you will start doing, and then you will notice after a while you get in the groove, and it gets easier, it gets better. Okay, see, so now this strand is running out. So I take another piece. There we go. Boom. I might just do a couple of reverse wrap turns. Fine. There. Make sure everything is aligned nicely. Get rid of like unwieldy bits, or maybe sometimes you can, if you're working with nettle or something, you will still have woody bits in there. Just take them out. This is the time to take them out. Boom, boom, boom. See, and then sometimes you can choose to still let go and then come back. The first technique that I showed. Okay. Now, as the length of your cordage progresses, you will notice that if you're not doing a big project, that it is good to make sure that the cordage that you already made can turn on itself. Because what you're doing is you're putting tension on your cordage, and sometimes the tension, if the tension has nowhere to go, then your cord will start to unravel, or some bits will kink and they will just mess with your cordage. Okay, so different ways to do this. I think the easiest way sometimes is just you get 2 little sticks, you bind them together, and then you have a cross, and then you just roll it on there. So yeah, that's a way to do it. Or you just make a little coil, as it were. Boom, and then you fix it, and then for now I'll do it like this. And there you go. Okay, so that way it can turn on itself. All right. Now, why is this a good way, in my opinion, to do it? Because there's also other ways of die rolling, where you just do the first part of the technique, where you just put tension on the cordage, and then you feel that it wants to roll onto itself, and you just let go, and you don't tighten this way. But obviously that means that you get more loose cordage, because the tightening that you do, it just goes into nothingness, right? Whereas now here, okay, so you need to add some friction here. Okay. Whereas now, if I tighten it, it will tighten against the last turns that I made. So when I go back, boom, I can really, it tightens against something, right? There's a stop here, and that is good. Whereas otherwise, and I'll show you what I mean, and notice how much I'm splicing in. I'm feeling like, okay, this is getting a little bit thin, I need to splice in more. So that's why it's good to have your to prepare your fibers beforehand, so that you don't have to mess with any of that. There we go. Sometimes I will add some cordage, and then I say, maybe I added in a bit too much, like now, and then so I will add some, and at the same time I will remove some, like this. Okay. Another thing that I want to, let me first just show you what I meant. So I could also just like tighten it, and then let go like this, and then see, then tighten it that way. But then you're tightening it into nothingness. There's nothing, there's no stop here to make sure that it's tight. So it's much better to tighten this way, and that way it tightens into the cordage that you already made. Okay. See, I'm making sure that my fibers are lying nicely against each other. I don't want them coiling on themselves, and I also don't want, and that's important, I also don't want to splice in. Let me do it like this, because it's gonna, you can see it with the different colors. So now see, so now this one is already turned. It's already coiled, or however you wanna call it. So if I add in a fiber now, see, one of them is rolling around all the other fibers that are already bundled together. So you don't want that. You don't want that. So what you need to do, if you want to add in fibers, just unroll them, make sure that they're all lying nicely together. Oh, and then you can add in more fibers so that it's one nice bundle. Okay. Boom. Okay. Like this. Up. Boom. Okay. See, untangle them. Boom. There we go. So I'm noticing now that that one of my bundles is getting a bit thick. And again, like I said, once in a while check. I should have done it earlier, because now I see that, oh, okay, my cordage is getting thicker than I started than at the beginning. So I will take out some fibers. Boom, and see if that way it's better. Boom, boom. There you go. Untangle. Boom. There you go. Boom. See? So I just now, once in a while I will tighten the cordage that I already have. Just make sure that, you know, everything's nice and that all the turns are still nice and tight. Okay, that's fine. And then you just continue. So here, you know, I can add in some more. Maybe even a couple. Maybe not. Another thing, as you notice, so all my fibers are ending in sort of the same spot here. Okay, that's not really a problem if I take that into account and start adding in before I reach the end of this this bundle of fibers. So I'll add in one, okay, and then maybe I'll take out another. Okay, that's still pretty thick. I can take out more, I feel, or even more. Still too thick. So, there you go. Boom. Maybe I've taken out too much. Yeah, but that's it's all good. It's practice, and you can always, if it's really important to you that your cordage is exactly the same thickness, and that might be the case if you're making decorative cordage, or you know, I don't know, it might be very, very important that it's exactly the same. You can always untwine it, go back a bit, and then fix your mistake. That's the beauty of making cordage. It's endless, so you can always go back and start again. Okay. So now I need to add a bit here. Okay. See, this is one of those instances where I will just reverse wrap a couple turns, because fairly quickly I need to add more of the brown fibers in as well. Yeah, so there we go. Boom. 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 See, now sometimes it gets a bit messy. That's fine. You untangle. Put one strand on one side of your knee, the other one on the other, and just nice and loose. Right? Don't keep it airy, let's say, and they will untangle by themselves. There we go. There we go. There we go. So now I lie them next to each other. Boom. Boom. Time to wet my pants again. There. See, now here it's tangled. Not a big problem, I'll just untangle, boom, boom. There you go. So that is the untangling that you have to do. That is the downside to this method. Yeah, so that's just the way it is. Okay, so I got quite a bit of cordage now. What you do next is you take scissors or a knife or a lighter if you want, and you just get rid of all the bits that are sticking out. Of course, you know, don't cut your cordage. That'll be unfortunate. There you go. Just get rid of all these unsightly bits. Now this video is fairly long, but still it only scratches the surface. There's a lot more to say about tie rolling cordage, but I hope that this will help you on your way. This is the method that I prefer, and it's very personal. I'm sure that other people like to do other things, or do it another way. But this is, you know, I researched it quite a bit, and I looked for videos right and left, and couldn't really find a good video explaining how to do it. So either people showed their method and then ended up with really ugly cordage. So you know, that's obviously not good advertising. I think my cordage is okay. It's better than a lot of people. It's certainly not better than any of the indigenous people that I see making cordage. But you know, on the other hand, that you know, they're really specialists and they've been doing it all their lives. And obviously, there's a lot of tradition. There's a lot of skill there. Okay, so I have my cordage now, and then sometimes there's still little fluffy bits that I will eventually burn off with a lighter. You know, but with lime bark, it's pretty neat. It's not too fluffy. It doesn't really fray a lot. It's different with, for instance, willow bark cordage. So here's my cordage, and then I will just, you know, make a nice little coil there. Okay. So there we go, and then that's, I just put it away for another time. But then see, so that is the cordage that I make, and it's pretty regular, and the turns are tight. I think they're pretty tight. It's not as tight as the cordage that you get by reverse wrapping, but I don't think that's always necessary. So if you want to have an idea of the things that I make with cordage, let me just get that. Then you will understand why it was important for me to just widen down a little bit. So why it's important for me to find a good method of making long cordage. I mean, like an efficient way of making lots of cordage. So this is something I made from willow bark. So simple looping. This is a sort of with lime bark. I made of a little bit of a sort of a dilly bag style. So simple looping. So this is one piece of cordage that you just loop. That you just loop and you make a bag out of it. This is also willow bark cordage that I treated in different ways to get the different colors. So that's a little it's a little backpack I made for my daughter. So this is all one cord basically. So yeah, so we're talking hundreds of meters of cordage, and then you don't want to have to reverse wrap. No, you don't want to have to fiddle and because there's not, you don't make a lot of progress. And I don't think that any of the indigenous peoples that need long lengths of cordage for netting or for bags or for hammocks or stuff like that, that they were reverse wrapping. I think it's a good technique to introduce people to twining, but it's not what you want to do. And then there's open hand twining, like finger rolling. I do that sometimes as well, but that's for another video. Okay, so there you go. Cordage. If you want to know how much cordage you can make, well, it depends. It depends a little bit. I'm sure that some indigenous tribes, you know, they can make it a lot faster than I can. But I'm at about say an hour of tie rolling cordage will get me about will get me about between 15 and 20 meters of cordage, and that's depending on the fibers that I use. And so yeah, I figured out that that's about what I can do. Okay, hope you enjoyed it. See you next time.